Good morning. This is the weekend update for Buy Sell Short for Saturday, October 27th. Considering all the bad news that has been out there on the earnings front, Friday actually ended up being somewhat of a decent day. Granted, very boring. This has been a really lackluster week in terms of plays, but we had a little bit of help on Friday from some economic data. We've had consumer confidence come in higher than expected, 5-year highs. We had GDP actually come in higher than expected, and the reason for that, of course, was iPhone sales and an increase in defense spending. But the market was able to shake off Apple's earnings reports and Amazon, both of which missed. Apple ended up slightly down. Amazon, after dropping to 206 after hours on Thursday, rallied $30 a share during the session, after our session, and then on Friday's session. So QE infinity is still very evident in the mega large cap stocks, and that's pretty much where we stand right now. We're looking at the 15-minute chart, and over the last 4 days, we have been trapped in this pretty tight rectangle formation here between 13,000 and 13,150, with 150 being an upside breakout. Typically, formations like this break to the upside. So believe it or not, going into this week, we actually have an upside bias in the market, even with the election only a few days away. Bounce targets would be, of course, a bounce back to the 200-day moving average up there at, the 13,300 to 400 area could make for a nice little bounce zone. If we look at the daily chart, you can see throughout the course of the week, we were able to hold the 200-day moving average. And the inability of the shorts and the bears to break us below that level could give a reflex, bend the shorts over bounce in the market. Remember, we've got Bernanke's money out there sloshing in every week. And with the indices oversold now, stochastics, RSI, and an uptick in on-bounce volume, odds say we get a bounce this week. Another indicator we don't look at too often is the McClellan oscillator. And essentially all you need to take from this is up here, way positive marks around the 50-plus zone means overbought. Down here in the negative area, really throughout the summer, 40 to 50 negative usually indicates bounce. And that's why we started to see a bounce on Friday, and that should probably hold into this week. Small caps have not been doing that well, but they are holding up above the 200-day moving average. Also remember, this upcoming Wednesday, October 31st, is quarter and year end for a lot of hedge funds. So we could see some pretty wild moves over the next couple of days, both up and down in poor performers and outperforming stocks. But again, we are oversold, and if the overall market, the Dow, does bounce as expected over the 200-day moving average, it's reasonable to assume we are going to see the same thing happen in small caps. SMH. You recall in the video a couple of days ago, I mentioned that we're seeing a lot of semiconductor stocks flash bottom/buy signals, and that is positive for the medium term. The SMH is right at a downtrend break here, and we could see a 5 to 10% move on semiconductor stocks over the next few days. RSI looks like it wants to break the 50 level for the first time since early September. We saw a positive MACD cross on Friday. We see on-bounce volume looking to break a downtrend line. We also see the same thing on stochastics. So if you're looking for a possible ETF to play on any sort of market bounce, the SMH could be one to look into. As for some of the large cap stocks, IBM also looks like it wants a rebound back to the 200-day moving average, deeply oversold. So we're seeing a lot of stocks that could potentially give us an excuse for an early week rally on the market. As for stock plays, MOTR, kaboom, baby. Look at that. We were patiently waiting on this one to break out over the last week or two. And then out of the blue over the last couple of days, all of a sudden, hey, you started seeing chatter about Icon, which we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. And, you know, they didn't want to buy it down here at 45 cents, but on Friday they were chasing this baby at 73 cents. And that, my friends, is how the market works and why we like to jump in ahead of the crowds. Very solid volume. We're coming up on pretty strong resistance at the 200-day moving average, but you can look, you see our target zone hit right on the nose, so you should have booked at least 2/3 to 3/4 profits on this one. I would trail my stops to 65 cents now. This one is also on the pop scan this week for a potential break of 80 cents. So keep an eye on it Monday, but you'd want to keep tight stops, as I mentioned, on the popper scan. ANTH. Biotech stocks have started to spike left and right. ANTH, we actually got a shakeout on Friday. We jumped into this one 93 cents, and late in the day they pushed it down. But this is a stock that typically does a dip and rip. And what I mean by a dip and rip is you get in, all of a sudden, floor falls out of the stock. Looks like it's going to fall all the way down. Next day starts a rally. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen on this one here. Recall, did the same thing the last time we got into this one in early September before it went on a 30% move over the course of a couple of days. 96, 97 cents is the breakout here. And target, again, is 113 to 120 plus is what we're looking for here. GERN, we got a nice little pop out of this baby a week ago on that stem cell news. They report earnings early this week, but it looks like it could have put a bottom in on Friday. First bounce target is the 20-day exponential at 144. Indicators are oversold, and with an overall bounce in the market, a lot of these stocks that got hit this week could see pretty quick bounce backs, and this one should definitely follow suit. PTN, we have been very, very patient on this one. The trial data that we expected out a week or so ago, actually 2 weeks ago now, has yet to appear, which may mean if we don't see news early this week, it might be a good idea to lighten up a little. You know how it goes. You lighten up a little, good news comes out, and the stock goes boom. So just think of it as a little bit of an insurance policy. 75 cents is the break. If we get positive news, it goes boom. We are looking at a possible MACD cross. So let's see if we get this news early this week on PTN. Last but not least, we've got P-Wave. Looks like it has bottomed out. We were buyers on this one, under 40 cents on Friday. It has gotten beaten down over the last 3 weeks or so, but we are looking at a positive MACD cross, maybe Tuesday. RSI has curled up. Stochastics are in the basement, and this is a stock that liked to run with motor. They used to pop and drop at the same time. It's just a tandem trade. But we've got a nice little bottom action on P-Wave. And, you know, this one was just up there at 75 cents. And when it starts rolling and starts getting volume, this is a stock that can put in, you know, 50 to 75% gains in the course of 1 to 2 days. So if we get volume on this baby on Monday, we could quickly see a move up to 55 to 60 cents on this one for a very nice gain with minimal downside risk at this point, in my opinion. So we've got a very nice setup on P-Wave going into this week, and it should do very, very well. Quick mention on Gale. We got a very nice bounce back on this one on Friday. Now, keep in mind, this is not a stock I would hold a large position in right now, and the reason being is the company that came out and gave the upgrade on Thursday, MLV. If you look at their website, all they do is financings for companies. So keep an eye on that. You know, we could see Gale come out with some sort of financing here, especially if we get an extended move on it in the near term. Next breakout on the chart is 220, and then we could see a move to 230 plus. So, you know, keep that in mind for your overnight risk holds on this stock. It may be best to play it. If you're going to play with size, play it intraday and then lighten up before the close over the next few days. So that's it for the video. We have some very, very nice setups going into this week. ANTH, Jern, PWAV, which I'm very enthusiastic about, and the pop scan this weekend has a lot more plays than I typically put on, and the reason being is It's been pretty light this week on the pop scan, and it was hard to choose. I mean, the charts I put on the pop scan this weekend, all have very, very nice potential. So scroll through, see which ones you like. Could be a pretty active Monday for those plays. So that's it for the video. If you've got any questions, shoot me an email, feedback@buysellshort.com, and I will see you guys in the chat room on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye.